Take, for instance, my good friend Suresh Prabhu. His only blemish is in the wrong party, Shiv Sena. But that's because of some local circumstances. But Suresh is an exceptional human being. He's a politician of great ability, integrity, passion, commitment. Everything that we all desire. What happened to Suresh? He became the Power Minister of India, a very critical sector at a very critical juncture. He was doing a great job. One day, suddenly, Suresh was sacked. He was dismissed from the government. He was the Cabinet Minister of India. He was doing a great job. He was dismissed. Why? His party boss rang up the Prime Minister and said, "Nikal do inko." Maybe he didn't even say inko, isko maybe. The Prime Minister pleaded with him, said, "Look, he's one of the brightest young politicians of this country. He's doing a great job in a very critical sector. Please let me retain him. If you wish, I'll give another cabinet berth to your party. But this particular thing, don't do it." And the party boss apparently said, "Kya bol rahe hain aap? Ye na khata hai, na khilata hai." What's the point? I spend 50 crores, 100 crores, 200 crores, 500 crores each time. This fellow in the most important ministry in the country, which can rake in millions and billions, he does not make a rupee for me. Now what's the point? And Suresh was sacked for the publicly stated reason. It was publicly stated that he was too honest. In independent India, a cabinet minister in the union government in a critical sector was removed for a publicly stated reason that his party boss felt that he was too honest. And that's it. We all accepted it. The media, the middle classes, the whole country accepted. The political system, the parliament, we all accepted it. And poor Vajpayee felt so guilty, so contrite with misery, that he created a cabinet office, this Garland Canal project or river linkage project or whatever, made him the chairman of that with the cabinet status, which meant nothing really. I mean, just to appease his own conscience, he said, "Suresh, I can't do much about it because I'm helpless. At least I'm treating you with respect." And since then, Suresh was completely devastated. So before the last election, he telephoned to me. He said, "JP, I'm again asked to contest from Parliament from my party. Now, what do you think? I'm not inclined. I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want to contest." I pleaded with Suresh and said, "Look, if people like you also disappear, then what else is left in this country? Damn it, you must fight." Then we had a long conversation. Finally, Suresh did contest, not necessarily because I pleaded with him. And then unfortunately, his combine lost, and therefore he had no chance of getting into power, though he was offered, incidentally. If the media is not there, I can share this also. He was asked by the current ruling combine to join their party before the election. And out of political propriety, he declined. He said, "Look, switching parties is not proper. Therefore, while I respect you, I wouldn't like to switch." So otherwise, he would have been a minister again, cabinet minister again. So he didn't have much of a chance to make an impact on the system. And since then, every time I meet Suresh, he accuses me. He says, "You are the guy who insisted, and next time around I'm not going to contest." Each time I plead with him. Last time I was in Mumbai, I actually had a dinner with his wife and him, and pleaded with her to make sure that Suresh doesn't do anything silly like that. She is with the DNA, that newspaper in Mumbai. She is in the editorial staff of that newspaper. So no, it's just one case to illustrate. And he is easily, in the past 25, 30 years, one of the best and brightest that entered politics. The kind of people that we'd like to see, not one, but every member of parliament in this country, for instance, every legislator at the state level. And this is the plight of the one of the very few in the country. Need I say more? Let me come to the concluding part of my presentation. I don't want to take too much of time. I want actually more interaction. I wanted only a few brief remarks that my colleagues said, give lay some kind of foundation for a meaningful interaction. I'm a great optimist. Charles Dickens, in this that famous novel, if you remember, he started with this beautiful quote. He said, I'm paraphrasing him. I may be inaccurate in my citation. He said, "We live in the best of times, we live in the worst of times." The tale of two cities. We do live in the best of times. We have a remarkable opportunity that beckons us. Never before did mankind have such an opportunity, and never before did India have such an opportunity, because we have now the unparalleled, unmatched power of technology. Even 12 years ago, I remember when Lok Satta was founded, I wrote a discussion paper going into some detail as to what's the problem in the country and what's the way out. And then I wanted to share that with a few friends in this country and abroad. And somebody from abroad said, send it by internet. I said, hey, Kichi, I mean, what is internet? I didn't know. I never heard the word internet in 1996. So they said, no, this is Software Technology Park fellows will know, so contact them and they will send it. So I went to the STP, where my friend Jay Chowdhury, he and I were collaborators in this enterprise to build the Info City here. And I'm delighted to see that there's this significant progress in that sector now. So I went there, and then Jay Chowdhury took me around, and he put something which I believe was called a floppy. I didn't know what a floppy was in those days. I suspect even now I'm not too certain what a floppy is, what a CD is. I know these two things exist. And then he put something somewhere and flicked a few buttons, and then it's gone. I really couldn't understand, and I still don't understand, by the way, but at that time it was really a miracle, like a child in a magic show. I said, but where has it gone? He said, it's gone to America or wherever you want in the world. I said, but how can it go? He said, that's the power of technology. And subsequently, Ankur was talking about the disclosure movement. For about 5 heady weeks in India, we built India's first internet-driven movement, national movement, on disclosure of candidate details. Chandanaji would remember. At the time, Dr. Bhargava, PM Bhargava from this city, and several of us from all over the country, some of the most respected civil society leaders, called on the then new president, Abdul Kalam, and pleaded with him to return the ordinance, and he sent it back. And it was very heady stuff during those days. And on an hourly basis, we were responding to the events in the country, Congress party, what Sonia Gandhi said, or somebody else said, Pranab Mukherjee said, NDA government, or at that time the law minister was Ravi Shankar Prasad, he or somebody else, what they would say, or government's official stance. And very reasoned response would go from us within the next 60 minutes to 5,000 people across the country through internet. Within the next 48 hours, that would go to about 200,000 people across the country. They all circulated among themselves. Within the next 3 to 7 days, the whole public discourse of India is based on these papers, because they were based on fact and impeccable logic, and the cause was moral. But the point is, without this technology, there is no way we could have built such movements. That power of technology is now there for us to harness. Not only for the obviously economically gainful occupations and enterprises, but for the larger public good. We have global reach. Therefore, we understand now the best practices all over the world and in our own country. If Nanaji Deshmukh did an outstanding job in a district of Godhra or elsewhere, if Mohan Dharia did something wonderful, if my good friend and in many ways a great hero to me, Rajnikant Aroli, had done exceptional work in healthcare in Jamkhed. Now today, we have the ability to document it, to understand it, and to think of institutional replication. We have solutions. From global warming to healthcare or rule of law, we have simple, practical, elegant, acceptable solutions. I almost sound cocky when I say what I believe, and that is, except death and old age and a few incurable diseases, there is not a single problem that is not amenable to sensible solutions today. And we are the first generation in the history of mankind that has the privilege to be able to say this. And even global warming. If you read that masterly book, Plan B, for instance, on global warming, we would understand that all the technologies required are already available to contain global warming today. We don't require to really go forward. Of course, we have to do a few things to dot the I's and cross the T's. But we already have all the technology required. And we have the resources. The only issue is will and leadership. And that's, of course, a monumental challenge on a global scale. And the problems that we encounter in this country are really, while they're huge and gargantuan in many ways and very complex, relatively speaking, they're pretty simple in terms of addressing them because many, many people have done that on a grand scale. It's no longer issues without proof of concept. Already it was there. It was there, tested and tried in a variety of ways in this country and across the world.